Hi guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you another Recent Reads video. I figured I'd go ahead and do a mid-month Recent Read so that my wrap-up at the end of the month isn't like super duper long. As always, I got 3 books to talk about, so let's just get right into it. The first book that I finished for March Mystery Madness was The Long Call by Cleeves. This is the first book in her new series, the Detective Matthew Zinn series, and I read this for the time prompt because I was considering long as a period of time. In the interest of full disclosure, I actually read this book in February. This always happens to me. Right after I put out my TBR, I get really excited about the books, and I just always start one early. I don't know why. I just get so excited. And I actually read this during the week that we were having the big winter storm here in Texas, and everything that was left on my February TBR just seemed too hard, and like I didn't want to read any of them, so I just picked this one up. This is following Detective Matthew Zinn, who lives in northern England on the coast in, I believe, Devonshire, and he is a police detective. And he actually grew up in the area, but he's been disowned by his family because they are a part of a religious cult that he no longer believes in. And so we see his life, and the book opens with a body being found on the beach, and it's discovered that the victim of the murder victim actually worked as a chef in the local community center slash adult daycare center in the town, which Matthew's husband Jonathan is actually the director of. And so it becomes this personal case of Matthew. There's some debate on whether he should excuse himself from the case or not, but it ends up that he is working on this case. So he is looking into the life and finances of the murder victim, and he starts to become aware that there is a issue within the woodyard that Jonathan may not be aware of regarding some embezzlement and things like that. And the case is also complicated because 2 different women that attend the adult daycare center go missing as well. And so there's all these twists and turns, and of course eventually you do find out why the murder victim was killed, and you see who was responsible. I enjoyed this. It was very atmospheric. It was, set again in the north of England, and it was very gray and dreary. And the title, The Long Call, actually refers to the gulls that fly around in the sea, and how they communicate with each other. So it's just very interesting and very set in this world of the beach. The religious cult aspect also plays a part in the mystery, so if you're interested in, that kind of thing, this would be a good book to pick up. I thought this was interesting. I will confess that already I am starting to forget some of the details of the book, so I don't think it is one that particularly is going to stand the test of time for me, but it was a good reading experience during a week where I really didn't want to read anything too complicated. The second book I finished was Bewitched, Bothered, and Biscotti by Bailey Cates. I already took this one back to the library because it was an interlibrary loan, and so when I got it, it had a giant interlibrary loan sticker on the front that covered most of the cover anyway, so might as well just stick a picture up here for it instead. This is the second book in the Magical Bakery series by Bailey Cates, and we are following Katie Lightfoot, who is a witch who runs a bakery in Savannah, Georgia, with her aunt and uncle. And she is also in a coven with her aunt and several of her aunt's friends, and they are teaching her how to develop her powers and spells and different things like that. So in this one, Katie stumbles across a body in a local park when she is having a picnic with one of her friends, D-Clan, and she soon discovers that the victim was a member of a magical society, like a very exclusive magical society that is based in Savannah, and she learns that this society is sort of, very private and doesn't want anybody to know about their members and what they are doing. She learns that one of the members has cast a spell to is looking to cast a spell to bring an evil spirit to the world and sort of, take over his powers and gain control of the dead and that kind of thing. And so she becomes very interested in stopping this crime because, of course, the regular police don't know anything about that aspect of it. And she soon discovers that the murderer is actually out to get her and is trying to attack her and things like that. And so we see how she works with the coven to figure out who is getting ready to cast the spell. And of course, they eventually come face to face with the murderer and things happen. And this book is set around Halloween because in the witch tradition, Halloween is the time when the barrier between our world and the next world is the thinnest, and so evil spirits are more easily coming through, and that's why the murderer is hoping to do this spell at this time. So this was cute. It's a very quick read, and it's a cozy mystery. I will say this book has a love triangle. Katie has two different men that she's deciding between, and that part is sort of starting to get annoying to me because it's like there's not any really good reason for her not to be able to pick. And now it's been almost a year since she's known both of these two guys, and it's like if you can't decide within a year, what's I don't know. So this was fine, and I'm definitely going to check out the third book in the series because that was the one that got me interested in the series to begin with. The last book that I want to mention was actually the one I finished this morning, and that was Saint X by Alexis Schaitkin. And this is I actually don't know how to describe this because it's not really a mystery or a thriller in the typical sense of the word. But let me tell you what it's about. It's about this woman named Claire, and when Claire was 7 years old, she and her family, her mom, dad, and her older sister Allison, went on a vacation to the fictional island of St. X, which is a Caribbean island. And Allison was actually, they assumed she was murdered, but she was found dead on the last day of their trip. And so it's about how we see the events of their trip, we see the search for Allison, and then we see how this affects Claire's life. And then we jump forward 15 years when Claire is fully grown, and she actually has a job in publishing in New York City. And one day she gets into a taxi cab, and it is driven by one of the men that was arrested for her sister's murder, but he was later released because there was a lack of evidence, and also the timeline didn't match up. Allison was seen at a bar with these two men, and then she was later discovered on an island off the coast of the main island, but the timeline didn't match up because the two men were actually taken in for drunk driving, and so there was no way they could have taken her to the island in the span of time. But anyway, she comes face to face with this man that was suspected of her sister's murder, and so she begins to basically stalk this man and gets very, very interested in getting to know him and getting to know more about his life in hopes of potentially learning the truth. And so in a lot of ways, this book is not a mystery per se. It's more a psychological character study and seeing how the murder affects Claire's life and how it impacts her life all these years later. This book is very, very beautifully written. It gave me Dublin Murder Squad vibes just because of the writing style and also how it gets very, very deep into the psyche of its main character. I really enjoyed this. I will say that Claire and her whole family are very, very privileged. The island, the St. X, is a very wealthy, not the locals, but the people that travel there. The resorts are very exclusive, and so they are very, very privileged people. She has a job in publishing, and she also gets an allowance from her parents, so she's very wealthy, she's very privileged, and we see one of the main themes in the book is how both Claire and Allison are very self-conscious about their wealth, and so they intentionally try to do things to bring focus away from their well, and there's sort of this like issue of like, is that the best way to handle your well, especially if you're not actively doing anything to remove yourself from the situation with those well. So overall, I found this very interesting, but I will say that some of the characters are, and particularly Claire, are very like, because they're so wealthy and because they're so like so obviously not a regular person, you're kind of like, come on, dude. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this. I found it very interesting, very compelling. Definitely recommend it. So that's all I've been reading lately. I hope everybody else has been reading some great books for March Mystery Madness so far, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!